Oh yeah, yeah. 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 Yeah.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder on this beautiful first Sunday in April. Hello, my name is Ray Knutson, and I'll be your worship leader for today's service. Throughout human history, the celebration of spring has always been huge in all cultures. For me personally, growing up in a hot Arizona, Easter has always been a magical time. I was amazed at all the beautiful flowers everyone brought to church. I didn't know why they brought them, and I didn't know why we sang those amazing songs, but it resonated with something very basic in me, and it still does. Easter has always felt like a time of possibility, of rebirth, and of hope. It seems we need that magic and rebirth now as much as ever. May it be so. We welcome all at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. If you are a new visitor, please email our office manager, Amy Zen, and let us know how you found us. You will find her email in the Zoom chat. Our church website has a great deal of additional information about the church and its activities that you will find interesting. We will now have a brief announcement from Kathy Edwards, chair of our ministerial search committee.
Good morning. This week, our Ministerial Search Committee sent out an update to the congregation. It's available to view in email and the Messenger e-newsletter. Bottom line, the search is being extended into mid-June. For those who have questions, we'll be available in the main room during our virtual coffee hour following the service.
Thank you, Kathy. I want to make sure everybody heard that there will be a discussion period after the regular church service in the main breakout room. Now, please ensure that your microphones remain muted and join us for worship.
Good morning. As we prepare our hearts and minds for worship, hear these words of my colleague, Reverend Richard Gilbert. We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirit seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your heart, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome, who are seekers of a new faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn and question. We bid you welcome, who enter this hall as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome.
If you have a personal chalice or candle near your computer, please get ready to light it. We invite you to type into the chat box where your chalice is, the street or neighborhood, or what city, if you're joining us from outside Boulder County. Now, I'd like to invite Sharon Ballou to light this morning's chalice.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sharon Ballou, and I have been a member at this church, UUCB, for almost 15 years now. I'm going to talk to you this morning about becoming a Unitarian Universalist. I first joined UUCB in Golden, Colorado in 1983 after being unchurched for most of my life. My mother had been raised a Methodist, and took me and my brothers to Sunday school for a few years. But my stepfather was an agnostic who never attended church with us. So by the time I was 10 and my baby sister was born, my mother stopped trying to organize 5 children on Sunday mornings while my father read his Scientific Americans. After 20 years of finding my spiritual inspiration in backpacking and baby making, I searched for a church to provide my 2 little sons with a religious education, because I believe it to be an important element of learning to be a thoughtful human being. In addition, I wanted my children to enjoy the music and some of the rituals that were facets of church going that I had enjoyed in my past. Now, the first Easter at JUC, I didn't know what to expect, but I felt sure that their resurrection story would be more about the arrival of spring than about Christ rising from the dead. What I hadn't imagined was the joyful gathering that filled the sanctuary that morning in April. Eunice Brock, an elder of the church, had created a 4-tiered garden with hundreds of bulbs, daffodils, tulips, and hyacinths from her own backyard. And behind a few large paper mache rocks and a waterfall, she had secreted half a dozen baby chicks and ducklings who peeped and chirped throughout the service. I didn't and don't remember the words of the sermon from that day, but the message of renewal and the uplifting of my spirit are a permanent reminder of the beloved community I have found as a Unitarian. I light the chalice today to all in our beloved community and on becoming Unitarian Universalists.
Thank you, Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
We now invite all of those gathered in your various locations to join together in fellowship and community as we all say our congregational covenant aloud. We gather in fellowship to speak truth
to each other,
to reach out and touch one another, to care with each other, and to seek truth divine. So be it.
Well, hello again, everyone. Good to be with you on this Sunday full of energy as many around the world celebrate Easter. We're going to take a little bit of time right now to reconnect to each other and to ourselves, to tune into our own joys and concerns. In the mystery of this silence, I invite you to tune into what is on your mind and in your heart today. And in the quiet of your own thoughts, to lift up all that weighs on you. Grief, anxieties, worries, pains, whatever it is, let us hold this in each other in the magic of silence. Let us turn our minds and hearts to those we love, holding them with love, acknowledging their painful challenges and sufferings. We find it helps to share these things so it's not just sitting with us. So I invite you now to share your concerns in the chat box. And as you do, I will lift up some, but all of them will be read and held tenderly and in love by this community. Please, as you are ready and able, share with us. I know our ongoing concerns remain for our frontline workers and teachers, for all the families in our community touched directly by the King Soopers tragedy last week. Pam shares concern for the well-being of her parents. I know so many of us are concerned about family and friends and loved ones near and far, fighting to get on vaccine lists, fighting to feel connected. We know that This time of isolation has exacerbated health concerns, mental and physical. We send our love to all those struggling. For those who need to travel, for those just exhausted, absolutely exhausted. Concerns for ongoing worries about gun violence that seems unstoppable. Peter, we're so glad to hear you've recovered. To those grieving Jackie, for those sending their love to Michelle, Nina's sister. There is so much we are holding in this community. It almost seems impossible, which is why we gather to do it together. It's the only way it is possible. Thank you all for sharing. We know that not everything is ready to be shared yet. You can keep it coming. We offer love and witness to all. But I also want to invite you to bring to your mind and bring right into your heart the things for which you are grateful and bring you joy. Please post your joys and celebrations in the chat box as well so that we can celebrate with you. Yeah, our search committee, they are special. We're going to talk about them a little bit more later and send them some love because don't we know they need it and deserve it. For all those who are leading this congregation, Easter and spring, flowers, beautiful warm afternoons. There is always the hope of spring. Yes, it's amazing what our scientists have been able to make happen in a year. Vaccines going into our bodies, making us feel once again like we can return to our lives. I'm grateful for you, Dana, but I'm glad to see you're grateful for our children and youth of UUCB. Just our overflowing love and gratitude to this community from Laura, and I sure share that with her. We are so blessed to have each other. For all these blessings and concerns, as well as those that remain silently on our hearts, we hold this compassionate space with love. Thank you, as I always do, for the ways you bless each other. It is a beautiful thing. I also want to just, while we're in this special space, open up a little more room for us to let our gratitude flow. The past 2 weeks has brought a new level of uncertainty and fear into all of our lives, but it's also reminded us of what and who truly matters. So I want to invite you in the magic of this silence to dwell for a moment in gratitude. Close your eyes, feel your feet on the ground, and allow your mind to float around, attaching itself to that which has brought you joy, accomplishment, peace, serenity, or gratitude in any form. I also want to take a moment in this gathered silence to send some love to our ministerial search committee that's been working so hard and so long on our behalf. Whether you know them well or not at all, as I read the names of our ministerial search committee members, I ask that you hold them tenderly in your mind and heart, sending them love and strength. I'm going to read each name and then just pause for a little while and let you just focus your love on them. And let's start with Billy Abbott. Billy, we send you so much gratitude and love. Next, we have Nicole Ball. Just picture Nicole in your mind and thank her for all the hours, all the meetings, all the love and attention. Thank you so much, Nicole. Mary Cloth, so grateful for your leadership and thoughtfulness. Hold Mary in your mind and send her words of love and gratitude. Thank you, Mary. Also, we heard from Kathy, the chair of this august body earlier, Kathy Edwards. We are so grateful for all that you've done to help shape this search. Let's hold Kathy in our mind as well, sending her words of love and thanks. Thank you, Kathy. Will Crop, Will, each one of us is holding you in our heart right now and holding you in our minds and sending you love and gratitude. Thank you, Will. Pam Leland, let's all bring her to our minds and fill our hearts with love for all the kind attention and thoughtfulness Pam has brought to this process for months and months. Pam, we are holding you in our hearts and sending you words of love, gratitude. Thank you, Pam. And last but certainly not least, bring Laura McGuire to your mind. Laura has been working so hard on our behalf. Make sure you fill your heart with love for her and send her thoughts of gratitude, love, and renewed strength. Thank you, Laura. We are so grateful for the work of this team individually and together. We stand with them in love and gratitude. Creator, spirit of life and love, energy that connects us all, we ask that you take this love and all this gratitude and beam it from our hearts to the hearts of our search committee. Keep them strong for what lies ahead. Keep them open to the possibilities. Keep them safe. In all your mysterious names, we give thanks. May it be so.
These words are from Robert Fulghum, who wrote the famous book, All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. I believe that imagination is stronger than knowledge, that myth is more potent than history, that dreams are more powerful than facts, that hope always triumphs over experience, that laughter is the only cure for grief. And I believe that love is stronger than death. Thank you.
On the morning of Monday, March 22nd, 2021, I took my family snowshoeing up in Rocky Mountain National Park. As we drove higher into the mountains, snow began to fall. And as we strapped our shoes on and headed down the trail, the flakes became thick and really started to pick up around us. After a mile or so, we were completely removed from reality, far away from the sights, sounds, and cares of the world, our minds stretching only as far as the soft blanket of snow would allow. And then the magic of nature really began to take over. Our senses sharpened at the invitation of the soothing burble of the still running creek and dampened call of a hawk somewhere high above. It was a gorgeous hike that ended at a snow-covered frozen waterfall and included very few intrusions from other hikers. After several hours of outdoor Colorado family bliss, we returned to our car, shook the snow off our coats, and turned on our cell phones, thus reconnecting ourselves to the larger world. Over the next hour, as we drove home, a growing awareness that something truly terrible was unfolding in our neighborhood slowly crept upon us through text messages and breaking news alerts. Quickly, the joy and bliss we were filled with melted away, to be replaced with a terrible mix of fear, anger, and helplessness. A little over 2 years ago, my family moved into a sweet little home just off Table Mesa, a few blocks beyond the now infamous King Soopers. We chose it not only because it was one of the only homes we could somehow afford to purchase in this insane real estate market, but because it looked exactly like the place we wanted to raise our daughter. When I pulled up to the house for the first time with our realtor, Bear Creek Elementary had just gotten out for the day, and the street was a super highway of kids on bikes and scooters and walking in little groups with friends. It looked like a dream, and we knew we wanted that kind of community where our child could run around carefree after school and play with her friends. And now, here we were, an hour removed from the snowshoeing bliss, suddenly sheltering in place in that home, scared for our lives, and full of dread as we awaited the names of our community members we knew had already been lost. That dream, suddenly interrupted by the all too familiar nightmare of gunfire that has torn apart far too many dreams and lives over the last 2 decades in the United States of America. But here it was in our town, literally in my backyard. And I don't know about you, but I just wanted so badly to rewind the whole tape and to go back to that dream of kids playing innocently, to that snow-covered forest with my family, to the bliss. But there is no going back. That terrible menace that has stalked so many cities and towns and neighborhoods has come to our doorstep, and it is devastating. I want to thank Reverend Dana for holding space with you all last week, for bringing her timely message that we must not turn away from the pain, no matter how much we want to. That we must allow ourselves to feel, however it is we feel, through this moment. A few days after the shooting, I allowed myself to walk over to the parking lot, which is now surrounded by temporary fencing that daily becomes more and more adorned with notes of love and loss and heartbreak, amongst flowers and candles and pictures of those we lost. I knew I wasn't ready for all that, so instead, I parked around the back near Moe's Bagels and walked over to the patio in front of the sandwich shop to take in the scene on my own. I watched in disbelief as an FBI team measured the angles of shots between the two cars still in the parking lot, in my parking lot, while music played from the sandwich shop and my tears just flowed. It is impossible for most of us not to think, there, but for the grace of God goes me, or a loved one, or a friend. I think one of the hardest aspects for me is that my initial impulse is to try and turn my anger and frustration and sadness to use somehow. I've never been a fan of guns. In fact, I intended never to even hold a real gun in this life, a vow I broke about a decade ago when I accepted the invitation of a pro-gun member of my previous congregation who said I should know a little something more about something I opposed so strongly. After one session at the range with him, I was more convinced than ever that I wanted nothing to do with this lethal technology. So I've always hoped for real gun control in our country, and that feels like where I should be putting my anger right now. But honestly, after seeing 2 decades of attempts fail, that train of thought just leads me down another path of anger and helplessness. And at times like this, when I feel hopeless and lost, I turn to my faith. So I want to talk to you today, as many celebrate the coming of spring and Easter, a little today about my belief system. Well, it's not really mine. It's one that has been articulated by many before me, but remains lesser known in popular culture and is called process thought or process theology. And I want to warn some of you out there that I'm going to use the word God a whole bunch of times. And I hope you won't tune out because of it. I promise I am not here to convert you, just to describe yet another way to see the world. And the basics of the process thought God and worldview are pretty simple. These ideas have emerged principally out of the work of scientist and theologian Alfred North Whitehead, and posits that the thing we call God is actually the container that holds all that is, all that could be, and even all that never will be. The process God is a giant cosmic bag of everything, all potentials in an infinite universe. Not a stoic human-like figure outside of time, but simply the container of all possibilities. Creation, including us, on the other hand, is the minuscule amount of that infinite possibility held within God that is actually realized. I often fall back on the metaphor of a vast ocean to illustrate this idea. Imagine if every individual drop of water in the ocean represents just one of the infinite possibilities that could unfold in any one moment. And the surface of the ocean represents the infinitesimally small amount that actually finds expression in the created world. The vast majority of the ocean lies in the deep, so little makes it to the top. Similarly, you could have emerged from the joining of sperm and egg in so many different ways, but you only actually emerged as exactly you. You are the tiny part of the possibility represented by that union that made it to the ocean's surface. And what you ate for breakfast, or the way you drive to work, or how you treat the people around you, all of these moments are expressions of just a minuscule fraction of what could have been. And further, Every moment of life is a creative reshuffling of what already was, based on our every decision. We continue to bring some things forward and let others sink back down below. The present moment is merely a creative reshuffling of the moment just before it, and on, which means that we keep recycling the same energy forward unless we consciously decide not to. Because it is creation, it is us, not God, that makes things actual. But while God has no power to choose what comes to be and what never does, God does have the power to beckon to us, to call to us, to entice us towards the most beautiful possibilities in any one moment, if only we are willing to listen. For this reason, I sometimes refer to the process God as the divine flirt, flirting us towards the most beautiful possibilities. It's so easy to go to despair around gun violence in America, to tell ourselves that the only thing different about what happened in Boulder was that it happened to us, and that the problem is so big, there's nothing that we can do about it. It's so easy to stop listening to the possibility when we've seen so little movement for so long. But what my faith tells me is that the only way to stop progress is to give in to that hopeless feeling. Because the easiest way for us to ensure that things will stay the same is to not engage consciously with the constant recreation of life. On the contrary, if we stay engaged, if we continue to listen and pay attention, I truly believe that the divine flirt will call to us all in little and big ways to pull this world more towards the beauty through our actions. And in terms of guns, this state and our country have a long and deep history. Our sickness with guns runs deep. You can't tell the story of our country and the white settlement of the state of Colorado without talking a lot about guns. It's going to take a lot of conscious effort to change the story here. But I do believe it's possible. And I am committed, I am recommitted to not giving up hope. This week, my wife and her UCC congregation, which happens to be just right up the road from King Soopers, partnered with a Christian organization out of Colorado Springs called Raw Tools. This organization is living out the biblical call to turn weapons into plowshares by running community gun buyback programs and then literally transforming the guns they receive into farming tools. When I say they transform these guns into farming tools, I mean at the events, after ensuring they are completely dismantled and safe, they use special equipment to superheat the surrendered weapons and then let the participants smash them with hammers until they are unrecognizable. The experts and artists take it from there, and my understanding is that the beautiful finished products of garden spades, hoes, and shovels that they create are back ordered for months. Talk about taking the past and creatively reshuffling it into a more beautiful future. I do believe they are onto something here. So today, less than 2 full weeks after our Boulder bubble dream was punctured once and for all, I beg you not to turn away from hope, not to embrace helplessness, and instead to find a way to keep your ears, your eyes, and your entire body open to the moments when you too can drag this stubborn, hurting world a little closer to the beauty that we all desire. May it be so. Ashe, and blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend Jeremy. In light of the recent King Soopers grocery store shooting, UUCB Executive Board, has made a change to the Share Our Offering plate this month. We are sharing 100% of our April offering plate with Boulder County Crisis Fund, established by the Community Foundation serving Boulder County. The Community Foundation established the Boulder County Crisis Fund to support the victims, their families, and our community in dealing with and processing this terrible event. As Community Foundation notes, beloved community, we are utterly heartbroken. We have experienced a horrific tragedy. We have lost 10 friends and neighbors. We have lost a member of our police force. We have lost a sense of safety and a piece of our hearts. We think of the families who receive phone calls regarding loved ones and our stomachs turn. We listen to the stories of survivors who experienced this tragedy firsthand, and our hearts ache. While many of us are in shock, in the state of shock and grief, we also know our community needs our help. In our grief, let us also remember our resilience. We will get through this together. You can make a donation now using the link posted in your chat, by sending a check to UUCB, or by scanning a QR code, which should be available on the next screen. Please be as generous as you can. We will now receive the offering. May our gifts be used to enact justice, to bring peace and love to the Boulder community.
From our birth, over and around us thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild, source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
As we prepare our hearts and minds to return to the world, I invite you to carry these words of William Shakespeare with you, who wrote, quote, "The earth has music for those who listen," unquote. Keep listening, keep hoping, and keep looking to unfold the beauty wherever you hear the music calling. May it be so, and go in peace.
Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way. Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way.
We invite you to stay with us in our Zoom rooms for a time of online fellowship and discussion. Today's lobby focus will be from our search committee. Barb and Fred are here to tell us how this is going to work.
Hi, I'm Fred Cole.
I'm Barb